Hello, good morning, good afternoon to everyone, depending where you are, what's your time zone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar. My name is Agnieszka Gogolewska. I'm the head of sales at PnrGo. And I have a pleasure to start this webinar, hopefully the first one in the series of webinars that PnrGo intends to organize. And for those of you who are not our customers, let me just tell, like 2 sentences about what PnrGo is. We are the company that specializes in automating data transfers, especially for general aviation and charter operators. If anyone would like to learn more about our services or contact us directly after this webinar or later, there is a button at the top of the screen that you will see throughout the webinar that you can use that will take you directly to the website, or later on you can contact us from our website through the form. The subject of this first webinar is the UK GAR regulations, the new UK GAR regulations. This is because we know from experience that it has caused a lot of trouble to a lot of you. And our presenter today is my colleague, Małgorzata Woźniak. She's the Enrollment and Certification Officer at PnrGo, and she's really the best person to talk to you today because she has been with this solution and with this problem from day one. She has been involved in development of automation in our company for this solution, and also she has received a lot of questions from you and I believe helped a lot of you with their problems. So I really can't think of a better person to talk to you today. So without further ado, welcome again, and I'd like to give the floor to Małgorzata.
Thank you, Agnieszka. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad you could join me here today. Even though the regulation in the UK aren't really that new, because it has been already 4 months since the go live date, we decided to have this webinar today because there are many problems, many questions we are still getting asked about this. So I tried to build today's presentation based on the questions we got so far. So we'll go quickly through what are the regulations, what this change. This is something probably you already all know, but just a reminder. What are the method of submission? What are the requirements if the flight changes, if anything in the flight changes? Then there will be part of the presentation regarding passport data, how they should be input into the system, how you should read the passports, as there was really many problems regarding this. We'll also have, I prepared few, let's say, edge cases that are quite problematic. So I can go through them to show you how to do it correctly. I have also gathered few cases of, let's say, special cases that our customers brought us. So maybe you already met them in your day-to-day work, or maybe not yet, so you'll be prepared if this happened. We'll quickly go through the remote clearance form, and then how the automation works via PnrGo. And we'll finish up with the Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions during my presentation, please put them in the chat. At the end, I will go through all of them one by one to answer any questions you may have. Before we start, I would ask you to answer one question. It will make the presentation for me a bit easier to see how you're doing the GAR at the moment. Okay, I can see that most of you have already answered, so I will just quickly show you the results. So as I expected, most of you are using the automated solution for the GAR, but still there's a lot of people using the manual. We'll be speaking about both of those methods today. So it doesn't matter which solution you use. I hope you'll learn something new and helpful today. Okay, so of course, at the beginning, just a reminder what has changed. The biggest change for everyone was that you no longer can send the general aviation report via email as it was done so far. The second biggest thing about it is that the final and last GAR need to be sent at least 2 hours before departure. If you have any major changes, we'll go what is a major change later on, you need to delay the flight, so the last GAR is sent at least 2 hours before departure, or contact local UK border force unit to ask for the permission to depart on time. To be honest, for the past 4 months, I never heard of the case that they say, yeah, you can go on time even though you had a change. So in 99% of cases, you still need to delay the flight. What is quite important to know, especially if you will be doing the GAR for the first time, is that additionally to some normal, let's say, API data, so names and documents of the passengers, there's some additional data you need to input. So of course, those are aircraft details, like registration type and airport bears. Also, you will need to appoint during the submission the responsible person and provide their contact details. There are two possible ways to submit the data. Using the manual version, so SGAR portal, or automated. If you are using the SGAR portal, there are still two possible ways to do it there. Fully manual, so you need to input all the data manually, like passenger data, flight data, everything. And then the whole process takes 9 steps, as mentioned here. Or you can use the GAR Excel format. So this is the one that was sent via email previously. You can upload it to the portal, and then some of the steps are skipped and only few left. If you're submitting it via portal as one of the steps, you will receive the board no board statuses of all the crew and passengers. So you can see if they're allowed to board. At the end of submission, you will, just one more thing here. This is quite important because I saw many people misunderstanding that. Even if you get okay to board for the passenger that was added last minute, it does not mean that you can depart on time. Still, the UK books the 2-hour windows for themselves to change their mind about any passengers. So still, you get okay to board, but still the 2-hour windows has to be kept. At the end of submission, you will get the GAR submission identifier. This can be useful if there's any problem in finding the data in the local border force unit. If you go with automated solution, so with the third party like a data provider, basically everything is happening outside of your manual control. So everything is happening without manual input. You still will receive the GAR submission identifier, so it doesn't change. You will get it. You can give it to the border force if needed, and so on. What is important here? Doesn't matter which method you use. If there is a passenger that is not allowed to be boarded, so not allowed to be brought to the UK, you will receive email or phone call from the UK board stating that. So it doesn't, even if you're not receiving no board statuses, still, if there's someone you should not bring to the UK, they will inform you about this. Now, this is a question often asked. When do I need to make a change, right? So do I need to submit new GAR if this or this changed? So of course, the major changes are adding new packs or new crew member, changing any data for those passengers. So for example, if you misspelled the name, you need to submit the new GAR and probably delay the flight. If you use the wrong passport number, exactly the same, you need to submit new GAR and if needed, delay the flight. Changing route or aircraft. So even if the passenger data of the same passengers, the same crew, the same route stay the same, but you only change the aircraft, still the same rule applies. You need to send new GAR and delay the flight if needed. I'm saying here send new GAR, but if you're using the web portal, there's option to update the GAR. The other things are times. So if you are rescheduling the flight to another date, so for example, for the day after or 2 days after that, you need to send new GAR. But if only the flight is delayed, so for example, the delay is for an hour or for 2 hours, there's no need to report a new GAR, and this is not necessary. So this is the most important things you need to know about new GAR. And now let's go to the passport part of the presentation. Okay, so what is most important thing about passports? There are two parts of them, the visual part and machine readable zone. And the thing is that the data in those two parts may differ. So there's complicated cases, we'll go through them later on, they may differ. You should always use the data in the machine readable zone. There's one exception, I will mention that later on. Just a quick reminder how the machine readable zone part is created. Today I will focus only on the first line of it. This is the most important here for the UK submission, I think, and we saw the biggest amount of issue. So of course the first letter is the document. Document may have two letters on just one. Then if there's only one letter, the second one will be as a chevron. Then for 3 characters, we have country of issue of this document. If they're using not 3 letters, but like, for example, German only D, then there will be 2 chevrons. So always 3 places will be for country of issue. Then we have surname. Then we have always 2 chevrons and then given name. So in like this case, De La Cruz is surname. Then we have 2 chevrons and then the name Maria. In case name on surname has more than 1 part, they will be divided by 1 chevron, like here in between De La and Cruz. Okay, I think this is the most important thing to remember always, the surname and given name divided with 2 chevrons. Now we will go through some edge cases for the passports that we saw the carriers still have problems with. So the first example is really long name. So both GAR and as most systems in the world for the API data, there is only 35 characters allowed for the name and surname. So if it is possible that someone has a really long name, like we have here on an example, then in machine readable zone, it will be shortened. For example, the whole last part, for example, will be cut out or only part of it. So in such case, you should use only what's mentioned in the machine readable zone. If you are using the GAR portal, even in the tab for name, you have mentioned that up to 35 characters. So if you see a really long name, you should always check if it was not shortened in the machine readable zone. The next case, a single name. So some countries issue passports without dividing surname and given name. Everything, all the name is under just full name or just name. Here we have 2 cases. We can have an option, there's really just one part of the name, like here on an example. So in such a case, you should input the one part as a surname, and then the given name is really unknown. So if you are inputting the data via portal, you should input here the Satria into the surname, and in the given name, you should put unknown. If you are using the automated solution, then you should get in touch with your data provider to check how they deal with it. The second option is that the name has many parts, and here in the visual part, they are not divided, so you cannot easily state where the given name starts and what part is the surname. Then you need to check in the machine readable zone. Again, the surname and the given name will be separated with 2 chevrons. And then you should input it like that. The first part as a surname, 2 chevrons, and the second part as a given name. Okay, let's go to the next example. Okay, special characters. So of course, first of all, there are special characters can be in names, plus of course special letters of each alphabet. Again, in the visual part, it can differ from the machine readable zone. So if there are any special characters in the visual part, they will be deleted, or instead of them, there will be a chevron in the machine readable zone. So as you can see, all the special characters where there are chevrons instead of them, and special letters where transcription is transcribed to Latin letters as well. So of course, in such cases, the special characters and special letters are not accepted by GAR or exactly other API units. You need to use how the name is shown into the in machine readable zone. This is also a good example of the case we had just before. So the single name, as you can see, still we have here only name. And you look at the machine readable zone, the whole name is as a surname here because there's no 2 chevrons between any of the parts of the name. So again, this should be inserted, the whole name from the machine readable zone should be inserted as the surname, and then the given name as unknown. The second case is special for the UK, and this is the exception to the always used machine readable zone. In some cases, in some countries, you may have a separate field for the middle name, and this middle name sometimes can be not shown in the machine readable zone. We have asked UK about this because we weren't sure ourselves, because normally we use the machine readable zone should be used. But UK answers they're strongly encouraging all the carriers to input middle name as well in such cases. So all the names shown in the visual part should be included in the GAR submission. What is important here, the GAR, both via SGAR portal and via automated way, do not differ between given name and middle name. There's only one field that you should input all the both given name and middle name. Okay, I hope that covered most of the special cases. So just before we continue, I would ask you to just quickly answer another question. Okay, thank you very much for your answers. I think we got almost everyone here. Okay, let me just share the how you answers with you. So I'm really glad that most of you have learned all you needed. If there's any, because to be honest, almost every week, especially every month, we get another weird questions about passports because there are many different ways a different country can input the data. So if you have any specific question, just reach out and we'll try to help if needed. Of course, if you have any specific questions regarding passports, you can also put them in the chat and we can go with them at the end. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. Okay, I also gathered few cases that we had in the past few months. Maybe you already had them, or maybe you will meet them soon, and then you will know how to do it. So of course, there are passengers that have two passports, and during the booking they gave you one of them. This is how you submitted the GAR, and then at the airport they show up with completely different passports. So this is, of course, a big problem because the data sent in the GAR has to match the data with which the passenger will be crossing the border in the UK. So there's not really a solution here. You need to submit new GAR with the passport that the passenger will be arriving to the UK, and unfortunately delay the flight. I know, not really convenient, but better to delay than get the £10,000 fine instead. Really similar case. So during the booking, passenger gave you the ID instead of passports. So similar situation here. The data needs to match between GAR and what will be shown at the border. So again, you need to submit new GAR and wait 2 hours before you can depart. The second, and I think most uncommon case, is an infant traveling without passport. This is only for if you are traveling, the passengers are traveling inside of common travel area. So this is UK, North Ireland, and Channel Islands. It can happen that the infant is so young that they don't have the passport yet. In such a case, but this should be exception more than the rule, the infant can travel using the birth certificate. So in such case, you should input the birth certificate into the GAR under the document as other. If you're doing it via web portal, you can choose the type of document you input, and you have option there, other. Okay, next. This is something we got quite a lot of questions about. How to submit the remote clearance form. So far, before the changes in the April, the remote clearance form was sent with the GAR via email to the UK. Now, if you are using SGAR portal, one of the steps will allow you to upload additional documents. So this is the place to upload the remote clearance form as a part of the GAR. If you are using an automated form, there's no way to add additional documents to the GAR. So you need to send the remote clearance form via email to the local border force. So I hope that helps. Okay, and now as the last part of this presentation, so how it works if it's automated solution via GAR. Via PnrGo, sorry. If we have a new client, we agree with them on the time at which the first submission of the GAR should happen. We recommend 12 or 6 hours, depending how many flights you have, how in advance you can get the data. If there's any of the major changes to the flight, so the one I mentioned few slides before, the old GAR will be cancelled and the new one will be submitted, of course, automatically. So this is, you don't need to go to the PnrGo to send anything. It's all happening automatically. After each submission, the user will receive email with confirmation that the GAR was submitted okay, and with the submission identifier that you can use to, talk to the border force if there's anything wrong. So if there is the first submission, you will get first submission identifier, and if there's any major change and we send new GAR, you will get also the new submission identifier. In case that the GAR, so there was a last minute change, you added a passenger, so PnrGo sends new GAR to the UK, you get the email with confirmation that the GAR was submitted, but you'll also receive the warning stated that, remember, the GAR was sent too late, you should delay the flight. So this is just describing how the whole process works. I hope that helps. If you have any specific questions regarding any position in PnrGo or regarding this, please put them in the chat. The last thing to remember while using the PnrGo is that in your scheduling, your flight management system, there may be differentiations between names in profile and passport. So there may be, so this is depending on the system, there may be place to put the name of the passenger in the profile and then again in passport. So in this case, the PnrGo will always take the data from the passport if they're inserted. If you are not sure how it works exactly, please contact our support. They will be happy to help. I hope that covers most of how it works with PnrGo, but of course, if there's any question, I will answer them. And just at the end, this is the temporary solution. The UK is still working on their new interactive system. This is the one that was supposed to be working already in April. What will change? Now you will be receiving, when it comes to life, of course, you will be receiving for each passengers the board, no board statuses, as it's happening right now via the portal. Also, the submission identifier will not be used anymore. So right now, I just got the message from them this week. After the August, so sorry, the beginning of September, they will get back to running tests with data providers because they changed something. But of course, from the carriers, there will be no additional work due to the change. So once there is the change, we switch to the new system. The carriers only be informed, of course, if they're using the PnrGo. Okay, I hope this is I think this is the end. Let me just, yes, so this is the end of the presentation. So I will just go through the questions. I can see that there are quite a lot of questions. So, okay, when I will be answering the questions, if you have anything to add to what I'm talking, maybe you already met the situations, please raise your hand. You have this option just above the chat. You have like reaction icon, so you can click there and raise your hand. So I will let you speak. Just at the end, quick thing for me to say. Next webinar will not be made by us. It will be, the organizer will be the EBAA in this case, and the topic will be EULISA, but me or one of our my colleagues, sorry, will be one of the speakers there. So of course, we encourage you to sign in and take part in it as the EULISA is getting closer and closer. Here you have a date, so 5th of September.